Well, I originally planned this worship series over a year ago because I cannot be the only one who needs a reminder to rest. But it has become something a little bit more than that, not as a way to correct my frantic life, but we now see it as a collective necessity. We find ourselves living in an uncertain, chaotic time where the noise of the world threatens to drown out the presence of the Spirit. Every one of us is in desperate need of the reminder that there is a deeper rhythm to life than the one that's dictated by our news feeds and our calendars. This is not about my schedule anymore. It is about us reclaiming a pace that allows our souls to breathe, Several of you have mentioned how much you needed to hear about this rhythm of life that we're ignoring or resisting. But I am sure that there is at least one of you who is already saying to themselves, I bet Eric's about to take a vacation and justify his goofing off. And that is correct. But I'm not justifying. It is about reminding all of us the importance of goofing off. In July, both Reverend Amy and I are going to take a little bit of time for renewal, about 4 weeks to rest and value rest. Because here's the reality. You all ain't visiting me in the nursing home. And I pray that my children will. This is an opportunity to affirm that our family matters in the midst of a ministry calling. So in the next couple of months, we're going to be talking about this. You'll have more information. But it felt really inauthentic to talk about rest without mentioning the short break we are going to take this summer. How many of us feel like we are constantly pulled away from the things that matter in our daily lives? How many of you now see that there are screens at the gas station because we cannot stand there for 4 minutes while we fill up our tanks? That in and of itself is an irony for our collective space, right? How many of you, the very last thing you see at night and the very first thing you see at morning is the blue light of your smartphone? We are pulled from our sleep, pulled from our rest by any number of notifications, including the notification from your Ring doorbell that tells you your newspaper was tossed into the driveway. And even that brief moment when we're paying for our milk and our eggs at the grocery store is bombarded by stimulation. Tabloid headlines, candy displays, and that ridiculous self-checkout thing that's constantly screaming at me that I did it wrong. We have lost the art of simply standing and waiting in line. In Luke's gospel, we encounter Mary and Martha. And we don't know when they first met Jesus. Maybe it's on a dusty road near Jerusalem. Maybe they were Mary and Martha from the Gospel of John, and they have a brother named Lazarus. But we know they become part of Jesus' inner circle. And we know that Bethany was his sanctuary. Now, when Jesus isn't in Bethany with them, the rhythm of life is likely hard and extremely physical. These were women of means. They owned their own home, which meant they managed a household. They probably had some labor like weaving. They fetched water. They prepared for the festival coming in Jerusalem. And imagine the anticipation leading up to this story, because word reaches the village, he's coming. Martha, likely the eldest, is going to jump into action. She's going to decide what needs to happen. For her, there is a sacred duty that needs to be attended to. In first century Palestine, welcoming a guest is about honoring the whole village. So maybe she's preparing a tray of baklava, sticky with honey and nuts on it. Maybe she's got a warm lentil stew over the fire or cooking some bread. But she wants Jesus to experience in her home what he doesn't have when he's on the road, a restful place to be. To Martha, love looks like a hot meal and a clean bed. Now, I will acknowledge, I think Martha has kind of got a bad rep in this story. I think Martha deserves a little more empathy and understanding than we usually offer her. She is, after all, the one who's getting everything ready for Jesus' arrival. How many of you, when you have read this story, see it as a moral imperative? Don't be Martha. We cast her as the demon, right? Don't be the busybody. Don't be the whiner. But if we're honest, the reason we read it that way is because we see ourselves as Marthas. Because the world needs Marthas to run. We can't all be Mary just sitting over there at Jesus' feet doing nothing. Martha is having Jesus over for dinner. Martha wants there to be a meal. Martha wants the meal to be one he'll always remember. Martha understands hospitality is the bedrock of village life. It's an honor to welcome guests and offer the best the home has. Martha isn't just in the kitchen baking baklava. She is attending to her sacred duty. And then she walks into the living room, and what is her sister Mary doing? She is sitting at Jesus' feet, leaving all the work to Martha to someone else. Martha's problem actually isn't her act of service. Martha's problem is what's happening in her own mental clutter. The Greek word Jesus is used here is peripato, which means to be pulled away. Martha's work is tied to her ego, which leads her to judge her sister through the lens of her own stress. And that is the lesson for all of us. We've all judged in this situation, in the Bible and in our own homes. There is no conflict between action and rest. We need people to set up chairs and make coffee. And for some, that act of service is where they find God. The conflict arises when we judge those who are resting because we feel we can't. Mary needed that time with Jesus. Now, maybe Martha did. And maybe serving Jesus is how she gets her deeper rest. But then Jesus responds to Martha. Do you notice how he does it with a double address of her name? Martha, Martha. It's not like the Brady Bunch. Martha, Martha, Martha. Always complaining in the kitchen. Martha, Martha, Martha. That's not what this is. This is an expression of deep affection. It's an expression of intimacy. Jesus isn't scolding her. He's inviting her to get out of this mental process that's unfolding. He is saying, Martha, Martha, I see your hard work. I see the meal you've prepared. But you're letting the doing drown out the being. Come and sit. Just be with me. Be still. I'm here. In the midst of the noise, we hear Martha's plea. And maybe she even whispered to herself, just go sit with Jesus. Don't worry about the baklava. Leave the soup and the bread. Just go and be still and receive. Don't judge yourself, Martha. Just claim your rest. Claim you need to sit there too. We need a presence that anchors us. And I hear Jesus inviting Martha to cease from her striving, to let go of her ego that won't allow her to rest. I hear Jesus say, be still and know that I'm with you. I invite you to join in singing a song with us. This is a song written by the band The Fray, and you're invited to just be still, to imagine yourself as Mary, and just be. Be still and know that I'm with you. Be still and know that I am here. Be still and know that I'm with you. Be still and know. When darkness comes upon you and colors you with fear and shame, be still and know that I'm with you, and I will say your name. And when you go through the valley and the shadow comes down from the hill, if morning never comes to be, be still, be still, be still. Be still, be still, be still. Choose the moment when you need to be the hands of Martha. Choose the moment when you need to be the feet of Mary. Whether you're overwhelmed by the expectations of the world, trying to navigate your kids and their devices, caring for aging parents, a loved one with illness, or just trying to keep your head above the water, the invitation remains the same. Be still. Stop judging the inaction of others. Stop justifying your busyness as righteousness. Be still and know that Christ is with you.